The hotel room 308. James had always been fascinated by the unknown. As a journalist specializing in paranormal investigations, he had explored countless haunted locations, but nothing had prepared him for what he would encounter in the infamous room 308 of the Holloway Grand Hotel. For decades, the hotel had been shrouded in mystery. Guests who had stayed in room 308 reported terrifying experiences. Whispers in the dark, shadowy figures at the foot of their beds, and an overwhelming sense of dread. Some even claimed to have seen a gaunt woman in a tattered white dress, her eyes hollow and lifeless. The hotel management, eager to maintain business, had sealed off the room, claiming it was under renovation. But James was determined to uncover the truth. After weeks of negotiations, he finally convinced the reluctant manager, Mr. Dawson, to allow him one night in the cursed room. Armed with a camera, a voice recorder, and his unwavering curiosity, he stepped into room 308. The air was thick, stagnant, as if the room had been trapped in time. The furniture was covered in dust, and the wallpaper was peeling, revealing dark stains beneath. James set up his equipment and sat on the creaky bed, waiting for something to happen. At first, there was nothing but silence. Hours passed, and he began to wonder if the stories were exaggerated. But then, just as he was about to pack up, the temperature dropped suddenly. His breath became visible in the frigid air. The door creaked open slightly, despite being locked. A whisper, barely audible, echoed through the room. "Leave, now." James felt a chill run down his spine. He turned on his recorder and asked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" A long pause, then a deep guttural voice answered, "She never left." The room plunged into darkness. James fumbled for his flashlight, but it flickered and died. Panic surged through him as he heard slow, deliberate footsteps approaching. A cold hand brushed against his neck, and he spun around, but there was nothing there. Then the bed frame rattled violently. The furniture scraped against the floor as if being pushed by an unseen force. James clutched his camera, snapping pictures wildly, hoping to capture something. Anything. A sudden piercing scream filled the room, a sound of pure agony. The walls began to tremble. James stumbled backward, his heart hammering in his chest. And then he saw her. The woman in the white dress stood in the corner, her sunken eyes locked onto his. Her mouth twisted into an unnatural grin, revealing blackened teeth. She raised a skeletal hand and pointed at him. "You should not have come." The door slammed shut behind him, trapping him inside. James felt an invisible force press against his chest, suffocating him. He struggled to breathe as the room spun around him. Desperate, he reached for the recorder and choked out, "What do you want?" The voice returned, this time in a whisper that crawled under his skin. "To stay. Forever." James screamed as the floor beneath him cracked open, revealing a void of darkness. The last thing he saw was the woman lunging toward him, her hollow eyes consuming him whole. The next morning, the hotel staff found room 308 empty. James was gone, his equipment scattered across the floor. The only evidence of his presence was a single photograph on his camera. A blurry image of a woman in white standing over an empty bed. Room 308 was permanently sealed that day. And James? He was never seen again. After James's disappearance, room 308 became a legend. No one dared to open it again, but news of the incident spread quickly among those interested in the paranormal. Eventually, it reached his close friend, Mark Carson, a private investigator who had worked with James on several cases. One day, Mark received a mysterious email with the subject line, 308, and an attached photo of James standing inside the room. The image was blurry, but one disturbing detail stood out. Behind James, reflected in the mirror, were two dark, hollow eyes watching him. Returning to the hotel determined to uncover the truth, Mark traveled to Holloway Grand Hotel, equipped with more advanced ghost hunting gear than James had. He also carried a notebook filled with notes about previous supernatural occurrences James had documented. When he confronted the hotel manager, Mr. Dawson, the man refused outright. "We lost someone in there. We're not taking that risk again." But Mark wasn't one to walk away. Using a few tricks, he managed to slip past security and reach the forbidden floor. As he approached the barricaded door of room 308, a strange sensation washed over him, like the room itself was watching him. Beyond the door, after prying off the wooden boards and unlocking the door, Mark was hit by the overwhelming stench of decay, as if the room had been sealed for centuries, not just months. The furniture remained untouched, frozen in time since James' last moments there. But what truly caught Mark's attention was the voice recorder. Still sitting in the same spot, its red light blinking, even though its battery should have long died. When he pressed play, James' trembling voice echoed in the silence. "It's not just a ghost. She's been here since the beginning. The room is her grave." Then the lights flickered out. Mark's breath hitched as an icy chill wrapped around him. Then he heard it, a faint, eerie laugh. He turned toward the mirror, the same mirror from James's last photo. His reflection stood there, but he was not alone. Behind him, the woman in white, smiling that same unnatural, twisted grin. She leaned in and whispered, "You came back for him. And now it's your turn." The door slammed shut behind him, plunging the room into complete darkness. The next morning, when hotel staff checked the floor, they found room 308 sealed once again, as if it had never been touched. But this time, something new had appeared, scratched into the wall from the inside in jagged, desperate strokes. "Help us."